Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Victor Samuel, and I'm the lead developer at Vickels Studios, and I'm also the creator of Vickels SmartGrader. So today, quickly, I'll be showing you the principle how to create tests and exams. So it's still the same process in with creating tests and exams. It's still the same process on mobile phones for both the teachers and the principals who are using the mobile app. So SmartGrader is available for Android devices ranging from Android 6 to any latest version of Android. And the minimum requirements as seen in the tutorials website is 2 gig RAM for very small schools and then 8 gig RAM for very large schools. So you can head over to SmartGrader tutorials website to see more info on how you can get the required phone specs for your server. So basically, before we continue, SmartGrader is an app. This interface here that you're seeing that um, runs as a server on your phone to host CBT. So how do you create tests and exams? The moment you create an account in SmartGrader, you create a school account as seen in the tutorials website. You have this interface here. You click test here, or you can go back to home, click exams here, any of them, or you go back to home, you click the students tab, and you can see classes, all your classes here. You can see students, you can see tests, and you can see exams. So for now, I will be showing you a test. Let's create a test. So I'll click this big blue button here down, which is basically the create test button. I'll click it, then I'll type the name of the subject that I want to create a test for. So the name of the subject could be anything. Let's say I like basic science. Let's say basic science chess 2 CA, for instance. So what will be the description? I'll say this is the first CA test for basic science just to students. Now, this description is going to be seen by your students on the exam interface when they log in to their portal on their browsers. This is what they'll see. So you need to describe the exam. It's not compulsory, but it's good you leave a note for your students so that they understand what they are doing in the exam. And then how long will the exam or the test last? Okay, so this is a test. As you can see here, it's a test creation. So how long will this test last? Let's say the test is going to last 10 minutes. And attempts. Okay, so now attempts basically is how many times do you want your students to get access to this particular test before they get blocked from accessing the test. So attempts is used to reduce the rate of exam malpractice, so that if you set the attempts to 100 now, it means the students can keep seeing this test 100 times before they submit. But one thing about SmartGrader is the moment a student submits, they cannot gain access to that test again because they've already submitted. So how do you reset attempts? How do you keep attempts at a low level? Now you might want to keep attempts at 1, which is highly secure, but keeping attempts at 1 means the student only has one single round to access that particular test. What happens when NEPA takes the lights? If there's a power cut, there's the laptop shuts down, the student laptop or student desktop shuts down, or the server shuts down, any of those things, the students won't be able to access the test again. So I recommend you putting 2 or 3 attempts. So we'll keep it at 3. How many scores? This is best for you to edit it. So I'll put 30 marks. Now notice how many scores and how many questions should the test or exam have. I will put 15 questions. That's what this test should have. Now SmartGrader will automatically calculate the total number of marks and the total number of exams or total number of questions that is going to be displayed, and it will automatically spread the marks. So each question has equal mark. You don't have to be doing it manually yourself. So should the questions be shuffled? Yes. To reduce exam malpractice, it should be shuffled. Should an e-calculator be provided? This is basic science just to maybe an e-calculator should be provided as we go on. Depends on what you want. So if you are doing a math test and you don't want your students to even have access to the calculator, you leave this box empty, don't tick it, and you click create. But if you want your students to have a calculator, there are two types of calculator in SmartGrader. The basic calculator is the one that has um the normal basic arithmetic, plus, minus, times, division, and numbers. But the advanced calculator has log, trigonometry, square root, square, and all of those stuff. So if you want your students to have the basic calculator, but you don't want them to have trigonometry or any of those advanced functions, you just click select yes. An e-calculator for your assessment. An e-calculator will be provided during this assessment. Do you also want to enable the advanced calculator? This is helpful for senior students who might need special functions like sin in trigonometry, sin cos tan, SOHCAHTOA, or logarithmic functions. So now, if you want your students to use a calculator without these advanced features, click no, it is not needed. But if you want them to use these advanced features with the calculator, you click yes, enable them. So we've enabled it, then we click create test on exam. So you can see it's very easy for you to create a test on exam. So click create. Instantly it comes up here. So now all I just need to do is I'll click basic science just to CA. It's just 10 minutes. I'll click this eye icon. This trash icon here is for deleting. This eye icon here is for viewing. So I'll just click view and we'll come here. So now the first thing we see here is telling us, hi there, do you know that you can tag your questions to topics? This allows you to see which topics your students will pass or fail when they take your exams or tests. It is also recommended that you add all the topics you have in your test or exam here first before adding questions. This method will make your work easier. So basically what SmartGrader is telling us here now is, after creating your test and exam, before you start typing questions, if you are the type that likes to know the strengths and weaknesses of your students after they take an exam, you would want to enable topics. So topics, what are topics? Topics is basically the topic you use in teaching your children. Whenever you write on the board, on the marker, on the whiteboard, on the blackboard, you write topic, subtopic, all of those things. So now in your scheme of work, you have a list of topics where you generate your questions from, or which you will use in test and in exam. So now you would want to know which particular topic in your assessment are students failing the most. So let's say you are taking basic science just 2 now as a teacher, and you want to know, you would want to put your topics in this way, maybe reproductive system 1, excretory system, digestive system, respiratory system, changes in nature, sources of energy as topics you would want to put here. Now after putting those topics here, you would want to set questions from them. So SmartGrader allows you to create topics, up to 25 topics, which you can now be typing your questions. In the process of typing your questions, you can now tag your questions to those topics. Why? So that when students submit their answers, SmartGrader will automatically calculate which topic is giving your students difficulty, which is actually a very valuable insight for you as a teacher. So let's continue. So since we want to enable topics, we click learn more. Yes, so it's telling us here how to add a topic. Just enter the name of a particular topic you have in mind. The topics in your test or exam will determine the kind of questions you have, which is self-explanatory. So let's click OK. So now enter your topic and save. So click one topic. I will type let's start with digestive system as a topic. I'll click save. So new topic, digestive system, has been created. I can add another topic. Let's say uh, excretory system. Just click save. I'll add another topic again. You see it's increasing over time, 2 over 25. I can have maximum of 25 topics. Let me add another topic again. Let me add drug abuse as a topic. I'll click save. So now I can now click exit so that I can start typing my questions. I'll click exit. Now this is the interface of the test you're about to create or you're working on. So now you can see the status here. Basic science just 2 CA, 10 minutes, that's the duration. 0 shuffled questions because you have not typed any questions yet. Exam or test details. This is the exam test ID, which you don't really need to worry about. This is the session, the current year, 2026/2027. And this is the e-calculator. You can see here the e-calculator is saying provided with advanced features. So let me play around with the settings. If I want to change the settings in SmartGrader, I'll click here to change exam or test settings. So I'll click here. This is the description. Remember how we set the description before? This is how the description is. If I want to edit it, I can edit it here. I can change the number, the minutes here. I can change the attempts here. I can change the marks here and all of that. Let's say I want to disable the calculator. I'll click disable and I'll save settings. Yes. So now if I come here, I'll see e-calculator not provided. I can come back here again and I'll click enable calculator. And I'll click yes, enable the advanced calculator, and I'll click save. Now come back here, provided with advanced features, you see. So you can change the settings here. It's very easy. So now note, total questions shown here refers to the number of questions that can be displayed per student. So the total questions that you set for this exam to display per student is 15. That's what you want them to see. Let's click here to see for more. So total questions here show only the number of questions that will be selected and displayed whenever a student attempts to take a test or an exam. This means that you can write more questions to improve shuffling. So now what is shuffling? Let's say you write 30 questions here. It means SmartGrader will always shuffle 15 out of those 30 questions to give each student. So some students will be saying different questions. So a student sitting next to student John, sitting next to James, will see his question 1, question 2, and question 3 could be different from John's question 1, question 2, and question 3. So this shuffling, which is similar to what they do in JAMB, also helps to reduce exam malpractice. So let's continue. Let's scroll down here. So see the question section here. It's saying 0 so far. Total images, size, and all of this. This is just stats. You don't really need to know much about this. But this tells you how much each section of your test or exam is taking. So now, for now, it's stating 0 because we haven't written anything. So let's click this button, add a question. We add our question. So now, adding a question is very easy. We have instructions. You know, each question in SmartGrader can have instructions. It's optional. Your instructions basically tell you, okay, this is how I want the student to answer this question. So the students will see this instruction on their own page. 120 characters maximum. Your question is compulsory. You must type your question here. So roughly 80 words. That's the maximum number you can have for your question here. Per question, roughly 80 words. So your question type, is it objective, subjective, or German? So now, question type, there's objective questions, which is multi-choice, which is the default here. Write 3 or 4 options with one of them having the correct answer. So let's just quickly type something. I'll add my instructions to be answer the correct answer. Pick the correct answer. So I'll come here and type my questions. I'll say dash is an example of a hard drug commonly used in Nigeria. So this is a question. Dash is an example of a hard drug commonly used in Nigeria. So now my question type, objective question here, I can say option A to D. Now the fourth option, option D, is not compulsory. You can decide to have only option A, B and C. If you decide to have option D, it's still fine. So I'll come here and I'll click marijuana. I'll type marijuana, sorry. I'll type you're talking about hard drugs here. I'll type paracetamol. I'll type Flygyl and I'll type Emzor. Emzor is a brand, not a medicine. So correct answer, I can select any of the correct answers. So I select A to be my correct answer here, which is marijuana. Marijuana is the only hard drug here that is commonly abused in Nigeria here. So this is the correct answer to my question. Assuming paracetamol is the correct answer to my question, I'll select B. So I'm going to select A since it's the correct answer to my question. Now, before we scroll down to the next, let's check other question types. This question can also have subjective or German question, which is also known as fill in the blanks. So now, here is where things get a little bit complicated, but it is good we understand how fill in the blank questions come in. Now, fill in the blank questions is very easy to set up. You see the way this question is, dash is an example of a hard drug commonly used in Nigeria. You can do the same thing here. Please note that German or subjective questions, which are also known as fill in the blanks, are tricky to answer. Now, instead of students having option A to D on their interface to select the correct answer, students will have to type the answer themselves. If you select subjective or German question, they'll have to type the answer themselves. So them typing the answer themselves can make them fail the question even if they know the correct answer, probably because of wrong spellings, probably because the answer might be different from the answer you might want to set. So SmartGrader will tell you to type in 5 answers which you think are correct to your question. So we have the answer to this question could be marijuana, it could be cocaine, it could be any of these hard drugs that are commonly used in Nigeria. So you can have multiple answers. It's just left for the students to select any of them. So let's start with marijuana, which was our original answer here, marijuana, and then I will add cocaine. I will add paracetamol, which I know is not a hard drug, but it's also commonly abused in Nigeria. I will add LSD, and then I'll add let's add codeine. Codeine is commonly abused in Nigeria. Now notice these options here. Paracetamol is not a hard drug, but in case the student is more likely to select paracetamol, and I will accept it as an answer, even if I don't want to give them a full mark, I'll just click it here. Now this tick, I've ticked the box here for paracetamol. I'm telling SmartGrader now that whenever a student writes paracetamol as their answer, SmartGrader should give them half mark for accepting the answer even if it's not fully correct. Assuming I tick LSD now, SmartGrader will make sure that any student that writes LSD as the answer will get half mark. So I'm just going to leave it for paracetamol only. To tick the answers with wrong spelling, exactly. So now we'll come down to passages and images. So now passages, you remember your English style exams when you want to create passages in questions, you type a passage comprehension for your English exam, and then students will answer the comprehension. So now SmartGrader has a feature that works exactly like that. So you create a passage by clicking open here. Now there is no passage here, so you just click add passage. A suitable title, the story of Chike, the drug addict. So now what this is now is the title for my passage. So I can write up to 1000 words inside here about the story of Chike the drug addict. And when I save this passage, it's going to be, let me just type Chike is a drug addict. It can be longer than this. I can type up to 1000 words, but I'm just typing this for the purpose of this video. Now I'll click save. I will click this passage here. If I want to edit it, I'll click this pencil icon here to edit it. So if I want to select it to tag it to this particular question, I'll just select it here, and that's all. Now you see it's being tagged to this particular question that has to do with what? Drug abuse. This is the passage that is being tagged to it. So now you can create a story in your test on your exam and tag even up to 30, 25, 15, even if it's just one question, to that particular passage, so that whenever the student sees the question, they will see the passage first to read it, so that they can know how to understand the question better and answer it better. So now, is this question linked to an image? Now I don't have any image for this particular question, but it is very easy for you to add an image here. You click open. If you want to add an image, you can add up to 10 images maximum inside a test or an exam. For your passages, you can add up to 10 passages too. So how do you add an image? You click add image here, and then you type a title, maybe a picture of a drug. Now you can decide to select the image. If you have the image on your phone, you click choose file and you select the image on your phone, and you come back and click save picture. If you don't have the image on your phone, maybe you have a picture of a medicine on in your environment, maybe a picture of paracetamol nearby, you can click open SmartCapture to use your phone camera to snap the drug, and then when you are done snapping it, you click submit. You come back here and paste from SmartCapture. You can now save your picture. So I'm coming. Okay, so that will be all for now, guys. I will be releasing part 2 for the tutorials video, and part 2 will be looking at using our SmartCapture to capture images and photos to use it in our exam questions. Thank you.